Boom! Freedom with the double 3, aka the Urban Cowboy. Over the next few weeks, I'll be raising the awareness of my equestrian social enterprise, riding out with some of the UK's most loved names. Welcome to Celebrities in the Saddle. So today we are joined by Kirk, who's the Assistant City Mayor of Leicester.
Imagine seeing you here on that big horse in the middle of Highfields.
Always, man, always. Come, man, come join us. Don't go right over, mate. That's it. Hey, jeez. Hi. Woo. That's good. Yeah, so it's the first time you've really been on a real horse. I'm not talking your Skegness donkeys. Yeah? You're on a real horse this time.
There's nothing wrong with a Skegness experience. Everyone has to have
a bit safer, your Skegness donkeys.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we're going to ride through the estate.
Yeah.
You know where we are.
Yeah.
We home.
Yes.
Yeah? Ready to ride through this estate?
I'm ready, let's go.
All right,
let's do this.
Let's do this. Welcome. So tell me, Kirk, in terms of Leicester, we're both from Leicester again, you know, we're familiar, you know what I mean? We know the area well, we know where we are. What's great about Leicester to you?
Oh, wow, Leicester, I think, wow, it's a really good question. I love the diversity of the city. I love that we've got every race and religion, and we're quite harmonious in the way that we do things.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have these obvious tensions that other cities around the country have.
I agree.
We have some really good relationships, faith-based stuff, community stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's good, it's a nice atmosphere to live and grow up in. You know, the communities are welcome. I don't think there's a part of Leicester that anybody would say, I feel apprehensive about going there or being in that area or visiting. I just don't think that exists. You know, it's really nice to be part of a city where everybody feels welcome.
I totally agree with what you're saying. You know, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, to tell you the truth. In particular, this being Highfields. Highfields kind of has like a bad reputation, yeah? But it did have a bad reputation.
Yeah, it has elements of things, you know. Sometimes it's perception and the way people that interpret what's happening locally or not happening locally. And, you know, you've lived in Highfields all your life and you'd say it's a brilliant place to live and grow up.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, it's done wonders for you as an individual. It's helped shape your character. You know, so yeah, perceptionally areas will always have reputations that sometimes are founded and a lot of time are just that.
Unfounded,
they're just external perceptions that people that don't really know the area. You get a lot of love in this area. Everybody gets a lot of love in this area. You know, it's an inner city estate. You have to look after each other in these places.
How would you say that the area's changed?
God, estates are usually estates. You know, there's been a lot of infrastructure put in, there's some more housing gone in. Obviously the schools have expanded, the population's expanded. There's more community groups now than there was before. But I think the hub of the area is still the same. It's very diverse.
Yeah.
A lot of the families that were here, and you'll know as well that were here when you were here, are still here.
Yeah, big time.
They love the area.
Big time.
And it's where they've lived all their life and they'll probably, you know, die in this area. That's how it is for people. There's a lot more businesses in the area now. There's more opportunity. And I think Leicester, the Highfields as an inner city area has grown to be part of the city as well, which is crucial.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be part of a bigger city, which it is, and it's more welcoming.
I think it's definitely more welcoming. I mean, one thing I noticed when I came back from the Caribbean, one thing I noticed was that the cultures of people have changed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before I left, it was very, very Asian. And when I came back, it was very, you know, like African.
Yeah, it's more diverse. A lot of African communities, a lot of Somalian communities.
Yeah. And why is that?
It's a welcoming area. You know, people feel welcome in this area. They feel warmth in this area.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resource in this area in terms of employment opportunities around with some of the businesses and the factories.
Yeah.
They've probably had families that have come here from years ago and said, you need to come here.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a little bit of a foundation for them to attach onto, and they just feel welcome.
Okay,
It's a welcoming place to be.
And in terms of even though that is the case, one other thing I have noticed, back in the day, Highfields, there used to be a massive black community in Highfields, but it's kind of died a bit now. Like it was spread out.
Yeah.
Would you think that's down to gentrification or?
I think just the way the sometimes social housing programs are worked, you know, it's hard to build housing in areas that are already overpopulated with housing. And if people need additional space and more houses and more bedrooms, then they have to move into different areas. So I think that black community, the Afro-Caribbean community, has moved around the city a lot more.
Yeah.
And they're spread out in different parts, but there's still a big chunk here.
One thing it hasn't helped is the cohesion, particularly of the African Caribbean community, you could say, because if you notice every other communities, they very much stay together, and community economics is a real important thing.
Yeah.
But I personally think that because the African Caribbean community isn't together in one area, you could say, that we're not as cohesive as maybe as the Asian community, the Polish community, the Somali community.
Yeah, it's a fair point, and I think with the unfortunate circumstances and the stuff that's going on around the world, and I think the Black Lives Matter movement is bringing that community cohesion back, and over the past couple of months there's been some fantastic work that's going on here in Leicester, particularly with the Black, Afro-Caribbean and the African communities now, to look at a range of different ways in which they can cohese themselves again.
Yeah.
Come back to that, you know, how they used to do things many years ago, you know, when there was big events.
Raddle's bookshop.
Yeah, all of those kind of things that you remember well. And I'm really pleased to see and be part of some of that as well. And I hope it does. The enthusiasm's there, the professionalism's there, the will's there. Let's make something happen now. And if that does bring that togetherness back in a particular way, then that's brilliant. That's brilliant stuff.
What I wanted to ask is, as diverse as the community is of Leicester, do you find that communities stay in isolation of one another?
Yeah, definitely. There
like
are.
you got the Belgrave area.
Yeah.
You've got the St Matthews area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do we actually mix as much as they say we do?
There are elements of that. I'd say the first, second, third generations were definitely different. I think the younger generations now are more integrated through their work, through their social life, through their sport and their recreational stuff. It's a lot different to how it was 10 years ago. And I imagine that being completely diluted in another 10 years, where there will be a range of, I don't think we'll have those, if you call them pockets of communities that just want to be in their own communities.
Hey.
And sometimes that's a thing that makes them feel safer.
Yeah.
You know, they stick around their own, they know their own, they know what to expect, and sometimes it's along religious lines as well. But that's definitely changing.
Cultural lines.
Yeah, cultural lines, etc. You know, their shops are local, their eateries are local, and they stay in those areas. But that's changing. Yeah. I think the youth are changing that just by default. I don't think there's a movement that's doing that. It's just happening. So Freedom, you've been as part of this community as long as anyone. You know, you've grown up in this area, you're back in this area, you're doing some amazing stuff with these horses and the kids from around here.
Absolutely.
What's next? What's next for you?
So what we want to do, as you know, we want to basically get an equestrian centre in the city of Leicester. We want to bring horses to the city so it can help with access.
Yeah.
And some people probably thought that many years ago it would be something that would not be achievable. But it is achievable.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at what goes on in America and so on, in terms of, you've got the Compton Cowboys, there's a lot of horse social enterprises and charities and so on in Philadelphia, in New York, there's a few as well, Buffalo. You know, we want to get something similar cracking over here. There's something similar in Brixton, London.
Yeah.
You had Khadija Mella.
Yeah, I've met her. Through you as well when we came to do the awards. She's amazing as well. Amazing.
You know what I mean? So we want to get an inner city equestrian centre set up right here in Leicester. We're familiar that there are pockets of land across the city. We're not asking for 20 acres. If there's something suitable, you know, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts?
Well, obviously, you know, I'm 100% behind you with this. We definitely want an urban equestrian in the middle of the city. Where that's going to be, you know, as you say, to try and find 5, 10, 15, 20 acres of land in an overpopulated, high densely situated cities is a big ask, but we're on it. You know, you're speaking with the city mayor, we're having conversations with him, we're looking at options. This is not through the want or the will of not trying to make this happen. We're going to try and make this happen. I think we've got to make this happen. With the, you know, we've just been talking about the population of the city. Yeah. Leicester's got one of the most diverse populations in the country. So to give those young people, and any really, access to this kind of activity, working with horses. It's not just about riding horses. You know, I've seen the stuff that you do, you know, around the work with the horses, building young people's confidence and all. It's a valid project and something we need and something we want for the city.
In terms of your current role, you're the Assistant City Mayor, and you're also the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner for Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland. First things, does that mean you're a Fed?
No,
all right.
Definitely not.
All right then. All right.
No, you have to have a warrant card and a badge for all of that, and they would never trust me with that, I don't think. So, no, the Police and Crime Commissioner role is an interesting one because it's an elected position. So my boss, Lord Willie Back, he's the elected Police and Crime Commissioner, and he has the responsibility of all of Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland. So he holds the police force to account on behalf of the public. So if they have concerns around policing in their area, if they have concerns around the way the police are doing their job,
too much stop and search and
whatever it is, so he will then hold them to account. Our office will hold them to account in terms of what they're doing and how they're doing it. It's a really interesting role because obviously being a community activist previously, that was something that I used to do anyway. It's now you just have a badge to do that, and actually when you go into the meetings that we have, they have to respond in a different kind of way to how they'd respond if you as an activist. So it's good, it's really interesting.
How long have you been doing it?
4 years, just over 4 years now.
Okay.
But to be fair, you know, I have to be fair to our force as well. We're very good at some things, we're not brilliant at everything, and I think that'd be fair to say, but we're nowhere near as how people would interpret policing in other parts of the world. You know, we're streets ahead of that. We've got a good force, they're very responsive to the community. There's more we can do, absolutely there's more we can do and more we should be doing.
In terms of more you can do, which areas would you say there's more you can do? Because I believe there was a recent article about Leicestershire in terms of institutionalised racism, came right at the bottom.
Well, that was an article that was, or an accusation that was made by a individual. That didn't really substantiate in terms of the findings or what he was presenting.
Who was that individual? Do you know?
He was the chair of the National Black Police Association. And it was through a Home Affairs Select Committee that he made the claim.
Would you not say that's a credible individual?
Well, we had a number of meetings. I was involved in some of those meetings with him afterwards in regards to what was discussed, and I thought we'd done, you know, we responded well. Were there some things that he'd like to see improved? There's some things I'd like to see improved. You know, you asked what? Workforce representation, more BAME officers, more BAME staff in the police force. Obviously, you know, the police force needs to represent or look like the community it represents.
In terms of you being an assistant city mayor, that basically means that you're also a councillor. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. And this is your ward?
Other side of the road is my ward, further up. So
okay,
the political boundaries sometimes don't make sense to communities, to be honest.
I hear that.
They're just political boundaries as by definitions. So
and they change all the time as well, don't they?
They change as well. They change as well. So my political boundary is Stonygate, which covers the bottom half of Highfields, which is where ACC is on the other side of the road.
See it there.
And all of that. So yeah, that's my political boundary.
Okay. And what, in terms of the actual role itself, how do you carry out your day-to-day job, being a councillor, being the assistant city mayor, which I believe would hold a lot more weight, responsibility than just being a normal councillor.
Yeah, well, being a councillor for your elected ward, you represent your constituents. So if you have issues with housing, with highways, with antisocial behaviour, anything that you think is the council's responsibility, I'm there to represent you to the council.
Yeah.
So your housing issues, I will represent you as a member of my ward to the housing office and say, look, my constituents got these concerns, how can we assist, what can we do, get that additional support in. My role as being assistant city mayor is I have a portfolio. Neighbourhood services is my portfolio, which is vast in terms of what it covers.
Yeah.
So all community buildings, libraries, neighbourhood centres. I also have highways, I have prevent. So I have a broad,
That's a huge portfolio.
broad portfolio, yeah, which I really enjoy because it's very front facing.
Is it difficult to manage though? Because it's such a big, some of the things you just mentioned there is big things.
I've got some good officers, to be fair.
Okay.
And having good officers helps.
So you delegate the work out to the officers?
Yeah. So we work as a team and we bring things, we talk about things, and having that good team makes a big difference. We feed it all back through the executive and the city mayor. He's the main decision maker.
Yeah.
And we go back through the executive to have those discussions about what needs to be done in the city.
Knife crime is a big issue nationally. Leicester is no different. Being that you are the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner for Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland, it's such a mouthful. How do you find that role being combated through the police force and stuff?
Yeah, it's a big issue. It's not, let's not try and hide away from the fact that knife crime is an issue not just for Leicester but across the whole of the country. Currently in the city now, this is the local authority, the City Council, we're writing a knife crime strategy. We've got a number of community groups that are involved in that process. We've probably done 10, 15 sessions out in all the neighbourhoods that are affected by knife crime across Leicester. It needs some investment, it needs some people back on the street. We've also got a programme called the Violence Reduction Network that runs through the OPCC's office, which solely focuses on serious violence. that is their main thing. We've got challenges. I think the way society and young people are growing up is adding to some of these challenges. The way they're communicating via a social platform rather than having those interconnectable skills. Yeah. I think the layers of the communities of your elders and having the respect for your elders is disappearing. Okay. When we were growing up, no matter where you were, you knew there was a line. Big time. And somebody would come and, to coin a phrase, give you a clip round the ear roll if you were getting too close to that line or above that line. Yeah. Those lines I don't see exist anymore in society, which is a worry for me. We need to bring that community back together. Yeah. The communities need to take some ownership.
I was going to say,
and start to control that as well.
How do you think the communities can take ownership? Because some of these young cats nowadays are scary cats, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Scary youths.
I think if we can support communities in a better way with some interventions, some programs, projects like yours,
like this one,
that are giving young people an opportunity to be in different spaces rather than just the constant space of where there's drama, where there's activities, where there's crime. Get them into some more positive space where there's positive people. Like your project, like other projects, and we need to get back into that world. We need to get our elders in the community back involved, so they're taking some ownership and reining some of these young people in. The families need to start having a look around what's going on in their own backyards as well, pulling people up.
Also, would you say that there's been a massive cut in youth club, youth service funding and stuff like that?
Huge amount.
Obviously that has an impact as well. So how are we meant to be combating some of these issues if the government's cutting you know, youth service funding?
Yeah. There's been a program of austerity for the last 10 years, and it's not getting any better. Local authority budgets are slashed to the bone, and I'm not just exaggerating when I say that, but that's not a reason not to be doing things, and we shouldn't hide away or hide behind that fact. We have to be innovative. So when we were doing our sessions with the communities and we were getting communities in to discuss how we resolve some of these things, one of the questions we asked was, what can you do with money, but what can you do without money? And bizarrely, there was the list without money was as big as the list with money. So there are things that we can do. It's just managing that and having the platform to be able to deliver on those things, because it's important. And you will know, and I know, and we're probably going to talk about the same people without their names. We've lost people we love in this area.
Big time.
To knife crime.
Yeah.
You know, that are personal in our own worlds as well.
Big time.
This is not just a newspaper headline for us. This is real.
Real life.
It affects our families. It affects our friends.
100%.
It affects our communities. So
Up
we
until
have
the last
more,
6 months, man.
Exactly.
You know?
We have more than a responsibility. We have a duty, a personal duty to deal with some of these things as well. So let's see.
Yeah, man. So, Kirk, it's been a pleasure having you on Celebrities in the Saddle.
Yeah, loved it.
You loved it, yeah?
Yeah.
Made history, LE2, two of us walking the horses through the hood.
LE2, LE2.
Catch up.
Catch
Till
up.
next time.
Yeah.
Bless.